Hey, FableThan here, and welcome to part 5 of our art journey. For today's video, we actually found a really cool reference image that I wanted to use. Sometimes I like to search the internet to see for certain types of gestures and models that I can get some inspiration from for certain characters and drawing ideas. And I came across this reference image on Pinterest that I thought was really cool. I'll put a link in the description for the reference image. And yeah, for this video, we're really going to be just drawing using this reference as the main base for it. This video is going to be a bit shorter than what we are usually doing, simply because my iPad is actually on really low battery. So I don't have a lot of time to actually record. And my phone isn't on awful percentage, but just like the iPad, it's not fully charged. But I think we can get like a quick sketch done. You know, I don't think we'll finish the drawing for this video. Well, I know we're not going to finish this drawing by the end of the video because I already recorded this. I mean, even you're going to probably know that we didn't finish the drawing by the end of this video because you'll see the thumbnail, which I've been usually saving for... I guess I use the thumbnails as kind of like a timestamp of like where we kind of got up to. This is where we're finishing for the day, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm going to be doing basically a rough sketch for this part of the video for today. And then the video that I typically upload on Saturday, that's when we're going to finish it up with some color, some shading, and some better line art. To talk a bit more about the art piece itself, I'm a huge fan of gesture drawing. When I was, I've been doing art for a really long time, but I didn't really get into gesture drawing and drawing with kind of models and references until, I believe before my first year of college. And again, I didn't go to art school or anything like that, but I really saw that my art improved when I started taking into consideration gestures and more dynamic posing. Now again, am I perfect at it? No, but I really enjoy that kind of aspect to the creative process. And that's mainly because, I grew up really liking superhero comics. I grew up liking, battle shonen anime like Dragon Ball and One Piece. And even like the series like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, right? They all have like very dynamic and stunning kind of battle choreography. So one, I really love gesture drawing for the understanding of how the human body and how, objects and people can look in a more dynamic setting. But I also just really like battle choreographies. Like, I have dreams of, one day making my own kind of battle comic or something like that. So I always kind of have a lot of fun in my free time doing these sorts of things. Comparing this to the first art project we worked on last week, which was more of kind of a neutral, kind of just stance for like a picture. This is more stance to get into a fight. And what I really liked about this reference model a lot was the choice of clothes. It's very casual, very, informal streetwear. It's not really the typical type of like clothes that you'd be thinking about for a fight. However, in kind of like an urban fantasy kind of situation or a, kind of like a Street Fighter situation, this would be like a really cool down-to-earth kind of getup to work on. But with all that said, the main interest I have when working on this is the fact that the choice of clothing is very baggy. Now, I personally struggle with drawing clothes, let alone baggy clothes. And the reason why is because, one, I don't have a lot of experience in it, and partially why I'm making this series is so I can, push those boundaries. But two, baggy clothes is very interesting, and clothing in general, because it's fabric, it's cloth. It's not always going to be skin tight to the skin, right? So when there are baggy folds and stuff like that, it's going to kind of fall in a certain way. And, by the end of this quick sketch, you're going to probably be able to tell that I still have a long way to go before I can really understand where, or rather how clothes falls on objects. But that being said, I do think that this is at least a solid start for us, and one thing about documenting your art journey is that not every piece is going to be a masterpiece, especially early on. But, it's also fun to kind of record or save the art pieces that might not be perfect. So then at a later date, as you grow and as you improve, you can look back and kind of see how you have developed and changed your art style. And typically when I do use gesture drawings, I like to make my own characters to kind of make it stand out. I don't typically like just drawing based off of the reference that I use. However, for this video, I am kind of drawing a bit more faithful into the script of that reference drawing, simply because I'm trying to learn how baggy clothes fall. So I am just kind of trying out. So until I get a better feel of it, I don't really want to kind of create my own character using it. But that does give me an idea as I'm talking that maybe, in a future video, I don't know, about next week or the week after, we can probably do kind of an art study specifically on fabric and how it falls and how to, shade and draw on it. I'm sure there's a lot of really good, how-to videos to do that. I personally like kind of figuring out on my own way because, yes, it's not going to be perfect. I don't really have a academic brain for art study and art theory, but I do kind of like trying to kind of reverse engineer it for my own sake. But yeah, so that's something we might do later on down the line. And I don't really have much to say. There's no like major topic that I'm really thinking about. There's no, major life event I feel like I should really be talking about. So I guess at this point of the episode, or the video rather, comment down below, what's going on with your kind of neck of the woods. If you're an artist, what kind of art projects are you working on? Again, I don't think I'm going to be allowing links just because I've talked about this in an earlier video. Links is kind of a tricky thing when it comes to comments and like what you allow, what don't you allow. And I don't know if YouTube is really against links, but I don't want to mess around with that. And two, if you're not an artist, just comment down, how you're feeling, how your day's going, if you got anything on your mind. Maybe if you have an art prompt or an idea you would like to see. Personally, I'm not trying to do recommendations yet. I might do that in the future, just because this is our art journey, but I do find that my art works best when I'm working on the projects I'm most interested in. But that being said, if you do have something you would like me to draw, I would love to hear it down below. Because maybe one day I'll be, trying to figure out like certain art prompts to do. And I might be like, hey, so-and-so had this really good idea for an art project. Let me try sketching that out, And unfortunately, how I'm kind of phrasing it, just because I see your art prompt doesn't mean that I'm going to get to it right away. But that's a great reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because if you do want to see me do your art prompt, you're going to have to stick around and see that. Obviously, I'll give shout outs and probably post the comment for whoever prompt I'm using if I do end up doing that. But, even if you don't have a prompt, I'd love to hear from you guys down in the comment section below. Another great part about the series being very small at this time is that it's a lot easier for me to be able to comment back and forth if there is, any conversations to have down in the comment section. And yeah, I think I'm going to stop it here. This has been FableThan, and I hope you all enjoy.